Hey fam, welcome back to another episode of I'm Telling You.
I'm telling you.
As always, your amazing host, Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Clickety clacker, fact checker, JD.
Word.
Clickety clack, fact checker.
Right back at you.
Yeah, right. For those of you who would like to reach out to us, you can go ahead and do that at ITY.
At directionsandmusic.org.
Yeah, that's ITY for I'm Telling You.
And directions, plural.
Yeah, with an music. S. Yeah, plural S, not Z.
Not a Z.
Not a Z. As well as, yeah, individually too. We can they can reach out to us separately. So there's Philly D, PHILLYD at directionsmusic.org.
Or Gemini, GEMINI at directionsandmusic.org.
Yeah, but if you had a question for Miss JD or something, or wanted to throw something out, you can just the ITY and one of us will get back to you, because that's what we do. You know what I mean? We want to continue that conversation.
It's all about the chat and the clickety clack.
Yeah, which, hey, first-time listeners, yeah, this is what we do. This is a 30-year friendship. We talk about everything, like legit everything. Case in point tonight, we're going to probably get into it a little bit because I've been on a kick lately.
Alien/ancient technologies. And
Well, see, and this is the thing.
Megalithic structures.
Well, because the term alien, right? The term alien just means not us or different from us, like, or unknown from us, right? So it's just unknown. So alien doesn't necessarily mean, space critters from outer space, right? It's not like...
Well, like extraterrestrial, like not necessarily of this earth.
Well, and that's so when we started, actually, I think the bigger part that I got into with it was the fact that I would say now, with everything I've been going through, my belief system is that, like, if there are aliens, as we would call it, like the space creatures, I would say that they were like Atlanteans.
Not like from another country, man.
No, they were from another civilization.
That'd be racist.
That was here on the earth that got wiped out, which I think the work from like Graham Hancock and, like, we were talking about Eric von Daniken.
Von Daniken.
Yeah, see, there you go. I did it. But all these kind of cats are starting to, like, their research is pointing to, at least for me, to the idea that if there was aliens of some kind of nature, these spaceships or crazy technology that we don't quite understand, would have been from a past civilization, which, from the information would be the lost city of Atlantis. That would be the last possible, like, crazy, amazing civilization at some point.
The last intellects and bastions of society somehow hold themselves up long enough to be able to take off in a spacecraft and continue that bloodline, but on a different time frame from us, and just to us they would be alien, is your whole theory.
Well, right. Well, because they still would be of this earth and they would still be human. They just would have been from a different civilization or time frame, but still us. So, because I think a lot of it, like with the like hieroglyphics and all that kind of stuff, going back to like Sumerian texts and all these things, all of this stuff where we have these supposed advanced technology civilizations, which aren't quite like crazy per se, like, machine wise or something, but they're making these megalithic spots or something, or they're, what?
I just wanted to take a moment to say that, well, you already cracked yours, but
I popped mine.
We are opening my second beer I ever made. Make that announcement on there.
Yeah, well, this is what the ITY session, is that what you called it?
I call it a green room session.
Yeah, the green room session. There you go.
It's got a little green hoppy on the top of the cap there.
It's got a green little hoppy on toppy.
Got a hoppy on top.
But yeah, so if what if the possibility would be, that this civilization, with all these hieroglyphics and all that stuff, like that's how they would have like written or spoke or whatever, like that would have been their language. Because from what at least from what I'm to understand from my research and in different things going through for like linguistics and ways to communicate, that doing things of like math or astronomy or doing, hieroglyphics, pictograms and stuff, that it would like, that's the more intelligent way to communicate. because you can
It's more
actually
universal.
Well, yeah, it's universal in that sense because you can actually get a sense for it as opposed to having specifics without a key.
Everybody understands math.
Right.
That's something that's it's universal. All those things
What
you
about
named.
that new math?
I think love is universal too. There's a couple things in there that are universal.
I hate
Require
new
no
math.
language.
It doesn't work.
There's no such thing as new math. It's ridiculous.
I know it's guessing. I always said. But yeah, so that's the thing is, all right, so this civilization has this technology and the ability to go to the stars, right? They have because I mean you like so JD pulled up during break because I mean we really got into it. So you pulled up on break some stuff about like the stones and all these things, which in the green room earlier we were talking about. I brought up the point of the idea of this thing that's called the Ark of the Covenant, which is basically in its design a gold box with a wooden box inside of it.
Twin sphinxes on top with their wings pointed at each other. And
well, I mean, to me, the basic structure of it really comes down to, well, the fact that you have a gold box with a wooden box with another gold box inside of that wooden box. But inside of that box is supposed to be, the holies of the holies or, the 10 Commandments possibly, or what I said was alien technology, as we would call it, which was basically Atlantean technology that would have survived from the massive flooding that happened with the cataclysmic cosmic event.
So I want to know, is it like the TARDIS? Is it bigger on the inside?
I mean, but that's because why not?
Who knows?
Because it's on a totally different level. Well, and so some of the stuff that I was doing research-wise is in all the old stories where they talked about people who did come in contact with the Ark of the Covenant, the stories that they expressed with the information made it sound like radioactive contact.
Radioactive?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where I kind of like, to me, it triggered.
Like skin conditions, lesions would form and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like sores and all sorts of stuff. And like they would die within a certain amount of time. And like internally there would be some, so it was like a whole combination of different things. Because I mean, I think there's like one story where there was like the Palestinians had it at one point and they all came by to give it praise and like looked upon it. And then within like a week, 50,000 of them were like dead. So there's like, all right, this can just move along. We don't need this here anymore. You know what I mean? So like all these different stories started to kind of make sense to me.
Wasn't there some kind of reverse engineered something that, pardon me, I think Hitler was trying to produce? I can't remember the name of it. I think the translation was the Bell, the name of it.
Well, he's like his UFOs research or whatever, where I think there was like the pillars and the ring and they were.
Yeah, and everyone who came in close, like same thing. Everyone who came in close contact with him, with this object when it was fired up, was showing signs of stuff on their skin. They had hearing problems. There was, I think, oozing here and there that wasn't natural.
Yeah, it sounds like radioactive contact.
Yeah.
Which,
like, what was he onto as well?
Well, yeah. So, and again, all the stuff I've done. So this is going into like some Bob Lazar stuff where they talked about element 115. Well, I'm now thinking like, all right, cool. So what if the Atlanteans, this ancient civilization, as far as we're concerned, because we just our written history are only so many thousand years, right? Well, we're talking about a civilization that was supposedly existed for, like 10,000 or 20 or even 100,000 years.
That, as far as we can tell, is as if not more advanced than we are currently.
Right. So why wouldn't they be able to have had the technology to have space travel? And so now you have these explorative voyages that they go to the deep, ends of the galaxies or universes or whoever, whatever. And then they come back and, they're expecting to see their fellow Atlanteans just like, oh, yeah, they finally came back.
And they come back and they see us.
Right. Well, they, obviously they know it's going to be so many generations, so many thousands of years, but.
We came looking for a highly enlightened civilization and found y'all.
Yeah, we came back to y'all. All right, that's great. Yay. But yeah, so.
What time is it? Wow, we got to go. Sorry.
But so I went even further and was like, all right, so what if then this idea of the Ark of the Covenant having, the holiest of holies, or basically like stone structures with writing on it, which the writing would have been more, again, like hieroglyphics, because that's how communication would have been done with them. So
was it a Syrian or Hebrew? I don't.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, so what if it was Atlantean and that's just what's trickled down, right?
This is the translation.
Well, because again, it's this massive civilization that gets wiped out possibly by massive flooding. I mean, again, Plato talks about it. It's in like the Bible. It's in Egypt. There's tons and tons of stories that all kind of point to that. Well, yeah, and they all kind of point to that same time frame as what science and stuff is now starting to pinpoint as like the different ice ages, and
like
as well as the last one.
Maybe he went to the mountaintop and found a bunch of artifacts, and that became, or he carved them from that, or like.
Well, no. Well, so because all right, so I mean, well, the thing with those ones specifically is like it was stated as the tablets were written by the finger of God or the hand of God or something, like burned into from what. Well, I couldn't have been.
But how do you read into that? I don't like. Is that
well? So what if
actual like? And what do you? I mean, if God is everything, what do you consider the hand of God?
Well, what if it's just Atlanteans going through generations, and they're using some of their technology?
Wasn't it the Eric von Däniken? Or I apologize, I'm butchering his name, but I'm not looking at it now. But
Eric
he
von Däniken.
wasn't. Yeah. So wasn't he saying that any culture, if a supreme culture, somebody from a supreme culture comes in, they're going to view them as like the superior being? So he even went to speak as to like in, what was it? Wherever they discuss it in the Bible, whether it be Ezekiel or whatever, where they talk about the craft coming down, and he just went to his knees, assuming it was God. And then he went and said the same thing happened with the Indians when Columbus came, and like, other different civilizations. When somebody comes in already having like superior clothing or technology or whatever to the culture that they're visiting, they appear to be some type of God to them. So I don't know if that's like a loosely interpretation on like that theory.
I have trouble with a lot of stuff that's written in script, like any scripture, because a lot of times I'm thinking on a different line. I'm thinking like these people are off. They're probably fasting. They're probably in a very deep meditative state, because they're in a lot of cases these stories come about because because people are in some kind of a meditative state trying to make contact and trying to understand it all. And what they're bringing back isn't necessarily, I don't always view it as like a physical occurrence. I always tend to view it as like a metaphysical occurrence. And this is the vision that they had. It was the message that they needed at that time.
To me, it sounds like you're talking like Einstein.
And who's to say that isn't God? But
well, yeah, like Einstein or Tesla having access to what they would call the Akashic records or something.
Yeah, but it's a real contact. It's a point at which you know yourself and you flipped yourself inside out and realize that you're God, but not in that way. You know what I mean? Like not in the egotistical way, in the way that you see your position in the entire universe and you see everything else and how it connects, and you don't feel a separation from anything.
When someone asks you if you're a God,
you say yes.
You say yes. And I get that.
But touching on what you said, Philly D, where you had mentioned it being in the like Antarctica and stuff, on break when I was researching it, it had mentioned that Plato said in 360 BC that in the last days the extraterrestrial colony was on Earth. And then it said that he believed that it was in Antarctica pre-flood. And that was like 900 years before it happened or something. But if you think about in Antarctica at the moment, anything that I've known about it, there's a lot of electromagnetic field disturbances. There's a lot of like military protectant. There's a lot of conspiracies where like extreme technologies or extraterrestrials, aliens supreme beings, whatever, have been sighted and stuff.
The hole in the earth. That's another one too.
Yeah, and they think that you might find Atlantis down below in the South Pole.
Well, I'm pretty sure we found pieces of Atlantis already buried under the sea. Like, it's not like those things were created under the water.
Well, they also found a shipwreck, and in the shipwreck, it held a significant amount of, I believe it was a piece of stone, and that stone was the orichalcum that they say that the Atlantis laws were written on by Triton's, like, it's on a pillar by Triton's throne.
Unobtainium was in substantium.
No, not that one. Not that one. But that's the orichalcum.
Orichalcum.
But that's in one of Plato's books where he discussed that. So they've found archaeological proof now that supports Plato's theory that there was an Atlantis, this metal did exist, and that he thinks it's in Antarctica.
Yeah, I've heard this whole storyline, actually, that all these ancient wisdoms that have made it through, they run along that same storyline that with Hermes Trismegistus was traveled through all those peoples and taught them like how to make connection, how to understand, how to, and it probably everything from, herbal medications to masonry to, all sorts of things. But that he was Hermes himself was a descendant of Atlantis. That's how advanced the civilization was.
So that's why I was talking like, all right, so if the place gets flooded out, not everybody's going to die, but all the technology for the most part pretty much gets ruined, at least all the large stuff, right? Because the city gets completely destroyed, wiped out, the whole civilization. So like you're possibly going to have at least a few survivors that are now going to more or less wash up in different spots of the world. So some are going to get to like Africa, some are going to go to, the Americas, maybe Australia, the different islands, like,
So the first video, I got to go back to this though. The first video that you'd sent to us that we were like, did we find out what the name was?
With the circuits? With the circuits?
So, yeah, I guess the very long one, the one that was almost 2 hours long.
Yeah, JD pulled that out.
Ancient Circuit Boards and Energy by Michael Tellin.
There were some really wild theories coming out of that, and I was...
Well, so I've done like amateur circuitry work, right? Like I built my own boards and stuff and like amplifiers, and
I built a tiny amplifier for my brother.
Yeah, like dude, I've done that and like digital, just all the stupid little stuff, like the Radio Shack kits from back in the day kind of stuff. But I've done enough of that I've seen like circuit boards, worked on like car computers, done some like, personal computer stuff. I know what circuit boards look like. I understand the designs and the layouts and what they all do and how stuff works. Seeing the different layouts of all these structures and the way that they were trying to point to the idea of them being either generators of energy, which pretty much all of them were. So they weren't so much like circuit boards as they were structures that allowed to generate, kind of like Nikola Tesla, pull the energy out of the earth and absorb it and put it into a single concentration.
Like Greek and Roman cities that had amphitheaters at one end and
no, more than that. There were several structures.
Well, everything like the pyramids themselves.
There were several structures where they had layouts where there was like inner rings, outer rings, and exterior components in between those rings, which would be obviously like insulators and the idea of like electromagnetic coils, but it would have been done with like salts and quartz and, the electromagnetic pulses of the earth and stuff like that.
Large numbers of oddly placed pillars kind of thing. Like what was the...
Kind of.
What is that location? Not as popular as Giza, but the one where... was it like the Pharaoh's temple, or I forget what it's called. there's all these giant, like monolithic statues, like these enormous structures. And it's, when you look at it overhead and you compare it to a circuit board, that was, I think, one of the things that he was pulling up was, I can't remember the exact name of the place. It's somewhere in Egypt related to, I think it's several kilometers or miles away from the actual Giza site. Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, but all these structures, more or less in a fashion.
But then it looks like a giant antenna when you...
Well, a lot of these structures, more or less, were somehow, it seemed to be aligned with each other. Not so much like physically attached, but there did seem to be a relative connection as far as orientation or mathematical representation.
Well, and an alignment with the night sky, pointing towards or pointing out the brightest stars that you see. You know,
the structures and all together, not even just the pyramids, but like all the things.
Of the stars that move across the eclectic. Am I getting that right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not my job, man. That's what
The
she's
eclectic.
for.
Well, the eclectic is the band of stars that our night sky kind of traverses throughout, that crosses path with the sun, something like that. Yeah.
You put your left foot in, you put your left foot.
Well, the importance of the major constellations are that they fall in alignment with us and the sun. Like it's the constellations that pass in front of the sun from our perspective. But anyway, obviously it wouldn't be in front of the sun, but that our sun passed through. I don't know, something like that.
I don't know.
There's some kind of mathematical something with that. I'm not sure.
1, 2, 3, not it.
I'm no expert here.
Tell me something I don't know.
I can't think of anything right now.
Oh, you trying to say I know it all? I am not a know-it-all, Sid, sir. I have my limits like all of us.
But I don't know. I don't know what you don't know.
You know.
You know.
I do know.
I'm saying.
I'm telling you.
Word.
So I really like this idea of the whole aliens are Atlanteans.
I know you're really...
Several generations having gone out on this like space voyage and then coming back and they're just like, what do you mean they're gone?
What? And then...
Dude, what if they like...
leaving ourselves like little messages all this time?
Well,
like,
think about this. What if they like...
Or is this a different alien species that also maybe has...
Well, that's what all right. So think about this. What if like that's what they're trying to tell that's what like the crop circles are, some of them are like different designs. So it's like, hey, you gotta build this machine to make it so that they can like land here or so that they can cross that dimension and come back into... Yeah, but maybe.
You know? Maybe. Build a baseball field and they'll show up.
Well, yeah. Well, because, I mean, like, what if it was, like, actually, like, stargates and stuff like that, where it was, like, interdimensional portals? So if we start, like, these machines back up, now all of a sudden they can, like, just come here. But they're, like...
By placing rocks in certain locations and...
Yeah, right? Or that's why, I mean, because so that's another thing is there's a lot of these sites that it still exist they have, like, special doorways, but a lot of those spots, those doorways are now blocked up.
I wanted to ask that question while I was watching this whole movie, though, because so he's going on this whole, you can't even, I guess, hypothesis that all of these ancient city structures and the way that they were put together were actually giant generators. But has he actually tested this theory with the type of stones that they like? Has he actually done a successful test and created energy with this? Like, that's what I really wanted to hear.
Well, they were
like,
talking about how sound and energy
are connected.
were connected with the sound resonance, which made the common links in creation.
Hooking a subwoofer to
An LED.
a house lamp or an LED. Well, I think they were using a house lamp.
No, it was an LED. It was a single LED. Because, yeah, it's like one of the lowest using lights, you know, technology wise. It's like the LED is like
it uses it
uses the least amount of juice, you know, amperage, wattage. I mean, like the whole
the cool thing about that too is an LED light would also get brighter the more noise it received. So the more feedback, the more juice it gets, the brighter it gets.
In theory, on paper, hypothetically,
they do. They'll flare up and they can get really super hot.
When I flare up, I get super hot.
But if you only feed them a little trickle, they just kind of barely glow.
Yeah, well, when I only feed them a little trickle, that's how I get them hot.
It's not always about you, man.
But it's funny. Makes me laugh.
You can make yourself laugh on your time.
I want to go back to this Atlantis. Atlantis! I want to go back to this.
Alabama.
I mean, what's your, I mean, just in, because like, dude, that's got to, like, that just, it blew my mind. Because I was always, my belief was like under that the supposed aliens were us in the future, when in actuality, it's us from the past. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that blew my mind.
Well, I mean, going back to that theory, though, that maybe in order to understand it, to be able to travel these distances, I mean, actual interstellar travel is actually interdimensional travel, and that in order to do it, you actually enter a space where there is no time. So it doesn't matter. Like, you can come in anywhere you want.
Well, that's the wormhole idea, or what's event horizon.
When you want.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that was like Event Horizon, where they were talking about going from like point A to point C by skipping over point B.
Well, that's because in Event Horizon, the ship itself was named that because it was literally the Event Horizon. Like, it created its own black hole from the center.
Right.
But what they played on with that movie that was really freaky was the concept that in-between place is basically like hell. And they got stuck there. And when they came back, it just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
That was a creepy flick.
It's like when you go camping with that one guy.
Yeah, basically what you're talking about is you're folding space so that you're passing through one side and out the other almost instantaneous, even though they're light years away.
Yeah, as if time doesn't exist. You're taking it out of the equation.
Well, does anything really exist?
I do.
Does anybody really know what time it is?
It's 9:37:18.
Does anybody really care?
In the AM of the yesterday.
I can't imagine why. What?
What kind of clock are you using? I don't know how to tell time.
I don't know.
I just really enjoyed the idea of all of that, though. It really.
I know, you can't let it go.
Well, and here's the thing that really triggered for me. Like, literally.
For me.
No, to me is what I would say. But for me, okay. The thing that like put all of this stuff together was the one story about the Ark of the Covenant, where they were talking about how this thing all of a sudden like started to levitate, float out, like shoot fireballs, attack and kill and do all this crazy stuff at like the Wall of Jericho and a bunch of these different things, right? All these stories are in there. And it popped to my mind was...
I thought they just marched around with it and whatever.
Dude, there's a ton of stories. That's why I was just like, this is crazy. But it made me think...
Careful.
All right, so some of the stuff we talk about with the supposed technology as we're aware of it, you know, like all that, like Bob Lazar stuff, Area 51, us, you know, reverse engineering and whatever. If it's like our own technology from like way back then or whatever, it's what they're saying is now, all right, so these vehicles or vessels are using...
Vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whatever you want to call them, vessels, because, I mean, they're not... I mean, a UFO is just an unidentified flying object. You know, that could be anything.
Flying craft of some sort.
Yeah, it's just unidentifiable. It doesn't mean that it's not... It can't be. It just means that from the idea of where you're doing it from...
Just
like
means you can't identify it.
Yeah,
at the
from
time
that perspective at that point, the context of the situation, you couldn't identify what it was. Cool. Doesn't mean it's not identifiable. You just couldn't do it at that time.
I mean, the same thing as flying saucer.
Yeah, they're different.
Flying saucer is much more specific.
So some of the ideas in these technologies. What's that?
They called them the Atlantis or the Estes ferment. They were also referred to as like the winked sun disk.
Oh, the different styles or kinds and.
Yeah, so the different stories, the different cultures, and then the splendid of the highest.
Did you say Amana?
Amanda.
Amanda, yeah.
Like the fridge company, or
I don't think that's the same. But
Amana.
anyways, as I was saying, the technologies we're aware of it with those ideas, like element 115, all that kind of stuff, is that these vessels or ships or whatever you want to call them, they don't have typical like hand controls. It's more of that there's a like
mind control, man.
Right, there's a telekinetic connection. So it's like the operator is using their mind to utilize the vehicle. Well, that's what triggered the thing with like the Ark of the Covenant, where there's this stone object with writing on it that's inside of a box. That's inside of a box inside of a box because it's layered and insulated and all this stuff.
What's in the box?
Red snapper. and it just all of it kind of like came together where I was just like, well, holy crap. I was like, so what if in actuality, Atlantis was this civilization of technology, so much so where they could like travel, create these spaceships. They even had them at that point in time, but got ruined in the flood. Because it was cataclysmic. I mean, it was instant freeze as well as instant thaw out because there was two different parts to the ice age.
Well, I think one of the theories I heard that I thought was the most interesting was, like you said, they were like super well advanced and they were figuring out ways to harness energy from their natural environment, from the earth. And that they got so good at it that they basically, kind of blew themselves up.
Wait, what?
They just destroyed their entire like island of Atlantis, basically.
Well, I think as we were talking about from Plato. Well, from Plato and the Egyptians and all that, the basic stories was that Atlantis had gotten to a level of basically pretentiousness of like we're all that and then some, that the powers to be smited them. And that's where like the time comes together where the meteor breaking apart, or the comet breaking apart, hitting the earth and causing the last ice age that we're aware of, which is, around that like 12,800 to 11,600 years ago. The story is that, it was to teach them a lesson. It's like, hey, if you guys think you're all this, that, it's like, watch how easy it is to get rid of you, and boom. So if you hit this cataclysmic event that comes out of nowhere and you have no detection because you're not even thinking about it, right? Like they may be the smartest civilization in the world and they have space travel and stuff, but maybe they don't think to check all of these, comets or they miscalculated. Because, you could be the smartest thing in the world. Doesn't mean you're going to get it right all the time.
Sometimes I think as a society, we can't think beyond how to make money out of something. Some of the world's most amazing inventions have been weaponized or turned against their original intent.
Almost
that's
always.
What I think is. Sure. Yeah, that's what I think is the sad thing.
There's no profit in free energy.
So if we're going on the thought that maybe these technologies were the technologies of the Atlanteans in the past and not of our future, then I really feel robbed out of the Jetsons and the Fifth Element movement because we should have been there if it's of the past.
Well, so think about this though, like Star Wars, right? What's the story of Star Wars? You don't know because you haven't seen them. So anyway.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
No, because it's true. The true story behind Star Wars, like the whole saga, all the episodes as an entire play, whatever you want to call it.
They're aliens. All of them.
Well, but you have all of these things of...
They're humanoid, but they're aliens.
Different technologies, different times, these massive wars, all this stuff. Like he said it was of a future. Well, dude, why does it have to be of a future? Why couldn't it have been of the past and it just wound up wiping itself out? Like what if there really was this massive battle in the heavens and all of these species just literally wound up killing themselves and just like wiping themselves out to like...
all these giants and giant magical creatures and...
all of this stuff.
Well, isn't that what he'd explained in the one that was about the war in heaven?
Yeah, Eric von Daniken. Yeah, it's kind of, he was talking about how there's, well, because it's when you change the translation from heavens to space, now all of a sudden it paints a different picture. It's no longer a possible mythological creature. It's the idea that it can now be a just alternate biological creature, just another life form.
Correct.
And because they have technologies above what we were used to at the time that we were writing this stuff down, it appears to be like magic to us.
What do you say if you change like 11 or 12 of their words?
It was 10. I think you said 10 words.
Okay. But the writing.
But I think he only gave like 3 examples or 4 examples.
Yeah, he only gave a couple. Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, a couple. But it's all of that stuff together. That's why I always said about like religion, dude, no one religion has it right. But if you look at all of what they're saying and find those congruent ideas, I think that's what a belief system is about. Not religion, a belief system. You know what I mean? And they all are the same thing. It's like the 4 agreements or the 10 commandments. It's basically just don't be a schmuck. It really is. Just care about stuff and don't be a schmuck. It's that easy, people.
There's more to it than that, but I can tell you from experience that it's not easy to find congruencies between some of these different, but they're there. They're definitely there.
Yeah, they all pretty much point to the fact of don't be a schmuck. Try to help yourself and your neighbors. That's about it. Don't rob, don't steal, don't chill, don't lie, don't.
There's more deeper lessons in there as well, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's on like a
basic gist of it.
That's like that's on a moment by moment basis. I'm talking in general. Just don't be a douche. That's it. It's like one rule, man. That's literally it. There's just one rule.
You had one job.
You had one job. In all your race for power and glory,
you forgot one thing.
We forgot to hook up the doll. You forgot to hook up the doll. Weird science. Dude, I love weird science. When was the last time we quoted weird science? It's been a while. I feel so much better now. What? I'm a child. Leave me alone.
You're wearing women's underpants.
It's a joke. This is not a joke. That's a serious disease. Dude, Bill Paxton, man. Another good actor.
Well, man, how much is it going to cost me?
Your VCR for starters. Dude, he extorted everything out of him, man. All of his stuff. He got like his retirement fund, like his trust or whatever from his parents. He's like, yeah, you're giving that up.
He's like, oh, it looks pretty good. Why don't you make yourself some?
Yeah, he throws the egg up and hits the ceiling and it cracks and goes into the pan. It's really gross. It's all right. He gets turned into a big giant pile of poop and then eats a fly. But he still has his flat top. Did you notice that? The big pile of poop had the flat top.
Yes, it did.
Still, I think that was like the marker that it was like, this is Chet. In fact, yes. This big old pile of poop.
Just like him when he ate the fly and he was like, oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah, he hates himself. Yeah, that's another Anthony Michael Hall, man. Which I love that dude. Maybe we should get Anthony Michael Hall to do a voiceover of a movie, putting all of this information together, because then it would sound really great.
Yeah, okay.
If not, then Jeremy Piven, because I like his work too. He does great. Yeah. He does great narration. If not, then Morgan Freeman, man, because that guy's in everything. That'd be awesome. What? Morgan Freeman would want to do something with us. We're awesome.
He might.
Dude, I'm telling you.
He just may.
I'm telling you.
Down by the bay.
With some hay.
Just say.
Let's go this way.
I'm done with that. Sorry.
So let me ask you this. In what I've presented to you as my idea, what do you feel are the weak points of this? Things that are, illogical or seem unlikely, if not, highly improbable, anything like that? Is there any holes in my work?
I'm not saying it's unlikely, and I can't really rule it out. I mean, sure, it's a possibility, but I think there's more to it than that. I mean, I find it really hard to believe that in a cosmos as big as this, that there isn't some other kind of life form out there that wouldn't try to make contact with us, or at least many other life forms out there because the potential is there. I mean, we're a small, insignificant planet in an insignificant solar system in an insignificant outer reach of an insignificant galaxy.
Well, the facts of like how many we went from there are no other possibly inhabitable Earth-like planets out there. So now all of a sudden there was like millions, now billions, now trillions. I mean, what's that about?
Well, I mean, every time we make advancements, we see a little bit further out into space, and we're seeing a lot more now. I mean, I don't know.
Well, so, all right, cool. So there's all these other Earth-like planets, which would sustain like our life. That doesn't mean that there aren't like.
I mean, I don't think it's that far. I don't know how many in light years, but I don't think it's that far to the next nearest.
I think at 2% light speed, it would take us 40 years to get there or something.
Life-supporting planet. Let's not talk about distance.
Or 100, 120 years.
But think back in those times, they lived to be like 1,900 years old.
Who did?
Any documentation of any ancient culture, any ancient culture, but certain ones they're documented where they do have like extremely long life.
All the old kings had like ridiculous.
Well, yeah. So you had a few documented cases, it seems, where the individual was to be, 140, 180, 240 years old.
Noah was how old?
Noah was 900.
Yeah. And then it kind of dwindled off after that, like as the generations.
But I'm not even just talking like biblical, like even with other, like if you go into Hebrew texts and Egyptian, they when they talk about the giants and stuff, they have extra long lifespans as well.
Even the giants do?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I think the longest one I heard of was like 1,000 years old or something like that.
Dude, that would freak me out to live alongside giants. I mean, like actual giants, not like a big person. Sorry, no offense to any big person out there, but I mean like a giant, like an actual.
Dude, you're a big person.
Dude, we're talking. You said about a mile tall was one of the things.
Well, that was like the extreme. That
was just that statue that they had found.
Yeah,
but when they discussed giants, it went between 6 feet to, I want to say like 10 feet or something tall. But in the
one lecture we did, there was like the guy was saying like there was 12 foot, 16 foot, 32 foot.
Yeah.
And reported.
Right. That was Michael Tellinger.
Yeah, consistent reporting was somewhere around like there was quite a few that was like 15 to 16 into the 20s. Like, dude, there was some tall ass.
Can you imagine that? Like a 2-story tall person.
But they found some fossils. Like he found those mud fossils. Wear shoes. That's why their feet print are still in the rock.
Dude, yeah, when you're that big, you don't need no shoes.
It's just sandals.
Oh, wait, no. They did find one type of mud fossil that looked like it was a foot in a shoe. So they were thinking it was some type of like leather, like sewn up type of like sock, essentially.
Let's say you can't go to Florsheim or nothing like that. I mean, you can't just head out to like your local.
You need a cobbler.
Cobble your own.
Can I get a cobbler? You want to cobble this for me?
You like a peach? Peach cobbler? Blueberry?
Who wants cream?
I want you to fix my phone.
Anyone? No one?
Cream?
Okay, no cream.
No creme fraiche?
No creme fraiche. Yeah, dude. After getting it really got it got me going.
I know it did.
It really got me going.
It really got me going.
Because I mean, especially with the fact that I'd already kind of like settled into the idea of like, all right, cool. Maybe we are the only relative intelligent race in all of this. All right, cool. That's definitely a possibility, right? I mean, there's only so many possibilities as far as like extraterrestrial life, as they call it, other entities outside of our planet. And I had always kind of given up on the idea that there was that. And so if there was any kind of other life forms, it would have been us from an alternate timeline. Because, I mean, science really proves these possible theories of, like we talked about, like string theory and all that, how it brings together relativity and everything else, where it puts stuff into place where it's like, all right, cool, stuff can coexist in the same space, just on different times, especially if we're going to have
Are we
this
talking like
construct.
parallel universe type?
In a sense, because
they studied the Antarctica and found out they went looking for a parallel universe in Antarctica. And they found out that it was. They didn't find one.
They didn't find one in, and it will. But that. So
how do you find? I don't know. Trying to get the logic in that.
Well, there was a show called Sliders, I think, back in the day, where they went from like timeline to timeline, kind of like Quantum Leap, but it was alternate universes or parallel universes. Dude, one of the what's his name?
Multiverse, like the same universe as this, but just slight differences. Like in one you have like a full head of hair.
Dude, I do have a full head of hair. It's just not mine.
You pay?
I'm not bald. I'm balding. There's a difference, man.
You were bald, but I'm just saying.
I'm balding.
And another one, I have manners.
I'm gonna manners you. What the?
I don't know.
Weird.
I think she's trying to make us sick.
I don't know.
Moving the camera all
of a sudden, I saw a very inappropriate shot of her nose. Was uncalled for, good lady.
I'm feeling funny. Moving the camera all about.
Well, and here's the thing, though, is like when we go through a lot of the research, and as we're finding out and starting to find better ways to date a lot of this stuff, the story of like Atlantis becomes this thing where they are this intelligent civilization, but it seems to be just as we have, these tribes in the Amazon or, Indonesia or wherever, all these different places in the world where there's still populations that have never had contact with us as a current society, all of our intelligence and technology, right? Like they're still just hunter-gatherers in the forest. Or
you're basically talking about Aborigine.
And it's, indigenous populations.
The oldest, yeah.
But there's still tribes that we haven't even contacted,
that can
right?
They can draw back their bloodline directly, like thousands of years.
Right. So
crazy.
Here's the deal: is then with all these stories and whatnot, they're basically saying that in this one section of the world, which could possibly, as we're saying, like Antarctica or somewhere in one of the Americas, it's a spot that's just where the technology is, and it didn't globalize. It stayed central, like all of the other civilizations have always kind of done, like the Mayans or the Incans or all the other indigenous populations. They pretty much stayed where they were at. They expanded slightly out from there, but they never globalized. This is, as far as we're aware, the first time where we're really, as a civilization or as a race, is globalizing. I mean, we're taking over everything, man. We're everywhere.
Well, I mean, globalizing economies is one thing. I don't think that's. I think being able to globalize an entire.
I'm talking on like technology wise. Because with the stories of Atlantis, it was basically Atlantis had all the technologies and the intelligence and the data and the knowledge and all these things. Everybody outside of Atlantis was basically like cockroaches. We were nothing. We were just another infestation.
The average person, not the Atlantean.
Yeah, that's what I said. So if you were not a part of the Atlantis,
it was like the Atlantis Project.
I don't I don't know. I don't have knowledge of this.
A superhuman. They're breeding superhuman people in there with advanced technology.
You're a superhuman.
Using crystals and stuff from the earth and magical. I don't even. Why are you looking at that?
Because I'm just like, I feel like, and it's getting close, but
I feel like you want to cut it off early. Not a
no, just
bumper, so you can not listen to me talk.
You're starting to dive off a little bit. You're getting a little too tangenty.
That's my job. I do. Come on, go back and look at the old ones. Like you can look at them. I said, go back and listen to the old ones.
What if I don't want to?
Because I'm telling you, it's been less than 30 seconds me into a show on tangent. That's what I do.
I'm telling you.
Don't be hating.
No, that's what we're doing. Don't stop with
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so I don't know, because we've also been like crazy serious for because we even did this like pre-show warm up. We were all I hijacked hard. I've been on this. I've been doing my research. I've been checking into stuff, double checking stuff. I've gone beyond wiki. You know what I mean? Like, I'm taking my time. I'm looking at stuff.
Hey, this is Christian Side Hog.
See, this is what I'm talking about, man. I'm trying to be all serious over here, and you straight derailing. Yeah, you just sip your session if that's what it's going to be, and I can just talk to the fact checker, and we can have a serious conversation over here.
All right, you do that.
Maybe we will. Jeez. But I really like the idea of it being like advanced technology from previous civilization. Right?
Yeah.
To me, it shows all of those connections of how a lot of the hieroglyphic writings have been very similar in styles. I mean, I think was the Sumerian tablets or whatever were completely different, even though there was, I think, same style of structure to it. So way different characters and what they were doing, but
like a grammatical structure to the
like the flow or something, I think, so it was
flow.
What can I get you, darling? But see, that's where I want to like get into like more of the numbers, as far as
3, 6, and 9.
No, date wise.
Oh, what? Oh,
so chronologically, to see how all that kind of stuff like plays out with each other. When was Sumerian? Like, when were the Sumerian times? Like, wasn't that like 7,000 or something? Or
it was Mesopotamian, Sumerian.
Yeah, and that's I'm trying to figure.
What do you call it? And then Egyptian, Phoenician, Egyptian.
4,500 to 1900 BC.
Was Sumerian? Like.
Auto check. It changed Sumerian to summer, which is still popping up.
Do you not know how to spell Sumerian? Don't spell samurai.
No, it's actually summer. Actually, the term summer is an abbreviated version, apparently.
That doesn't sound right.
It's Sumer, not summer.
Sumerian. Sumer.
I love me some Sumer.
Simon.
Smart person. I'm going to show you my screen so you can see.
You can't do. Oh, that's so small. It's the tiniest. You got to like blow it up if you flip it.
We'll wait until your technology advances to the Sumerian.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we're almost there.
We have yet to advance to where the Sumerians were in 1900 BC. Yeah, good going there. Technology. Dudes in caves with freaking crystals attached to wires. I mean, they had it figured out thousands of years ago.
What was they had the Egyptian, the one.
Wires, rocks.
Well, it looked like two light bulbs because there was tubes with snake-like objects that could have been filaments inside of them. That's what,
Tubes. Like the
tubes.
internet.
TUBES. Tubes.
Bunch of tubes. Like the internet.
Okay.
Rip the tube, bro.
Tubular. What? I'm sorry.
So the Sumerians are actually the people from Sumer, and
From Sumer.
it was the name of their ancient language as well. But they were attested from 3000 BC, and they were extinct from about 2000 to 1800 BC.
So this would have been, so all of this stuff is definitely like,
Yeah.
well, so it's after the last ice age that we're aware when we got our final warm back up and like everything melted and then the oceans went up like, I think it was like 300 feet or 400 feet or something like that. So, but so
Atlantis
all of
was
these,
buried.
but all of these
They continue to
hieroglyphic
use
style.
the language.
Yeah, so all of these, all these different drawing style communications and
Pictographs.
yeah, pictographs, as well as having all of your stuff, basically like your all your layouts, everything you're doing pays attention to the astronomy, so it's all star based. So they all share those same consistent ideas as they're coming out of that spot. So that's why I'm like, I feel like if Atlantis actually did get like destroyed, then they just, some of the stuff leaked out and they kept trying to build the civilization back up. But I don't know. As always, wah, wah,
Yeah, it is that time.
wah. I know. You guys, you love us. We love you.
No doubt. If you want to reach out to us,
If you want to keep this conversation going, please.
yes, reach out to us at ity@directionsandmusic.org. That's ity@directionsandmusic.org, or me personally at gemini@directionsandmusic.org, or Philly D because he got his double L's.
PHILLYD @directionsandmusic.org. Yeah.
And absolutely keep the conversation going.
Yeah, we would love that, man. Because, dude, especially this conversation, it's been great.
This one's been going on for like a week now, I feel.
Well, because, I've been dumping a bunch of info at you all, and then, like, we kind of had it out. I got into it in the green room. And
Some of it I've actually seen before, but that first one was a conglomerate of a lot of stuff I'd kind of researched in the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying, but
A lot of full-on tie-ins with...
we'll have to do more research and then talk again later on this. So, as always, I'm telling you, we love it when you stop by. This is Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
JD.
Yeah, and be good to yourself. Be good to everyone else.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.